Hello, and here are my reflections on the Sunday after Christmas. Here we are, just 2 days after Christmas, and I expect that nobody under 5 years of age is reading this or watching this video, so I can ask, do you remember as a kid unwrapping Christmas presents? Now, I have to admit I can't, but I do remember when in our 20s we first came to Canada, to Montreal, being invited into the homes of families in the church who had kids, so that Lucy and I wouldn't be left out as childless, hopeless people on Christmas Day. This was the deal that I remember. No one could touch the presents until after the children's service on Christmas Eve. We'd all go to the family home and there would be a pile of presents under a big decorated tree. And I don't recall the instructions, but it was the same as, on your marks, get set, go. The kids fell on the mound of gifts to find their name on one, rip off the paper, pull out the gifts, go, wow, yeah, and so forth, and then dive back to find and open the next one. 20 minutes later, the room was a battlefield of torn wrappings, empty boxes, gifts lost beneath the carnage, and everyone emotionally exhausted. When we had Christmas with our own children, we were frowned upon by other parents. We gave our children a present each to open, explore, play with, and even share. And then, later, another one, and so on. It could take all afternoon. It was calm and joyful. People used to note that calm was an important part of the life of our household, and it still is. Now we have calm dogs. The children are now all adults and have long since left the nest. I like the way Luke tells his story of the young Jesus. We've had the gift of Jesus, the God in the midst of us, unwrapped in birth and brought into the world. Son of God, a baby in a cattle trough, with people at the bottom of the social hierarchy quietly smiling and offering Joseph a sandwich and a beer, and Mary a lot of quiet strokes and water and maybe a glass of good red wine too. It was low-key. Then people started to arrive in the stable, who gave a very different colour to the child's presence. Magi, strangers from afar, gifts and warnings. What was this about? Who was this baby? More than meets the eye, and people wondered. The next layer of wrapping comes off later, when the couple bring Jesus to the temple, as you should, like bringing a child to church for baptism. Joseph and Mary are such straight-up ordinary people. They are so not expecting things, and when Simeon suddenly comes in, homes in on them, they must have felt afraid. Generally speaking, most people like to remain low profile in public places, but both Simeon and Anna present Jesus as a figure on a world stage of God's drama. Again, I imagine Joseph and Mary standing in shock and wonder as their child gets swept up into a narrative beyond ordinary folk like them. Their little Jesus seemed perhaps less little than they had grasped. And then, as before, they go home, just like normal people would. Our incarnational theology teaches that the divine becomes human in Jesus, and Jesus in spirit dwells in all who follow, trust, and believe that he is God. The fullness of God, creator of the ever-expanding universe, the weaver of the fabric of love that secures and upholds us, the animating force of life and the giver of the dark mystery of death. All of this, and so much more, is fully present in this handful of wet skin and wailing baby the mystery waiting to be unwrapped. This is the Christmas present God gives us each year. We each get a whole 12 months to try and unwrap what is placed in our hearts and in communion in our hands. For just like the immensity of the divine being placed in Mother's womb, Mary's womb, all of this is placed in you. You who consider yourselves Christians, you are bearers of the immensity of God. And that is, mostly, I think, a surprise to us. What? Me? Yes, says the Spirit. Yes, say the magi. Yes, say the shepherds. Yes, say the angels. Yes, says the one who loves you. Part 1 of Christmas is taking off the first layer of paper on Christmas Day. God has come among us and now will never leave, but slowly, slowly, slowly with the paper, more slowly the older and wiser you get. Part 2 of Christmas is you are now the bearer of the surprise. And slowly, carefully, like carrying a newborn baby, you can treasure this in your heart and begin to live each day with the intention of being a little Christ carrier in the unsuspecting normality of your world. This is the Sunday after Christmas, the first Sunday of the rest of your life. Just what might God have in store for you? What might God be asking you to do for him today? Yes, you, the child of God, the Christ bearer, waiting to be unwrapped over this year, one layer at a time, until finally people see in you what you are carrying. The life of God, the Christ within you, little Christian that you are. Go well into Christmas.